About 3 years ago, 3 years ago, I left full-time practice and I do contract work around town. It helps that my husband's an attorney. I do a lot of work for him. I really like correcting his grammar. He does not love it, but I do. My league service, I feel like I have had some different positions. I started out in community and I chaired a project that's no longer around. And then I jumped to fund development. I was a Touch a Truck committee member for a year. I was the production chair, and then I actually chaired the event. And then I switched back over to community, and I was the community vice president for a year, and then long range planning chair, where I got to sit on the board of directors. And then I went to the nominating committee, and this is my second year on the nominating committee. And so the next slide will show you some of the things that kind of keep me busy. You'll see my cat, Sophie. She wears the pants in the family, as you can see. And my girls are very different. My daughter, Cecile, she likes gymnastics and dance and soccer. And then my daughter, Annie, is a softball aficionado. She also likes soccer, but don't put a bow or dance costume anywhere near her body. She does not want to participate in that. And then my son, Jack, he loves piano and basketball. He plays a few other sports, but those are kind of his two main loves. So I'm going to let Laura kind of tell you a little bit more about herself and her league service, and then we'll get to nominating stuff.
So this is my 8th active year. So I've been in the league since 2013, which seemed like a long time when I looked it up to put the year on here. I'm an attorney here in Baton Rouge. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge. I went to Vanderbilt in Nashville for college and came back to LSU for law school. I do a lot of construction litigation and business litigation in my practice. Some of my hobbies are I love cooking. I've been doing a lot of gardening, especially with the pandemic, like a lot of people. I'm pretty bad at it, but I'm working on it. I'm totally a history nerd. So if you want to know something random, I'm probably your girl. On the slide there is Bubbles, my cat, in the middle. And then on the right is a picture of a daisy from my garden that I took. As far as my league service, I've kind of been all over the place. I started out in Ready Hands on the committee, and then assistant chair on Ready Hands. Then I was CPC assistant chair, so I got to sit on Marcom Council, which was a great experience because I don't know anything about marketing, so I learned a lot there. Then I was archives chair, and then back to community for the Family Resource Center when that was getting started for the league. And then I was on the board of directors as the strategic initiatives director, and then the nominating committee, and now the nominating assistant chair.
All right. So now that you know a little bit about us, we will spend most of this presentation talking to you about who we are as a committee and what we do, and go through some things that we feel like will assist you along your league journey, knowing about the nominating process. We welcome questions in the chat. We'll have a time for questions at the end, but if you have something pressing, you can throw it in the chat, and we should be able to get to it. We also have a couple of interactive sections if you want to participate with that. So we'll start by who is the nominating committee. There are 8 of us, and we are all slated by the board of directors. It is a 2-year placement, so that when we say that, that means you serve on the same placement for 2 years. And every year, 4 members are placed. So it's kind of a rotating system where you always have 4 returning members, veterans as you will, and then 4 new members. And then out of The returning members, the board of directors selects a chair and an assistant chair out of those 4 returning members. So 2 will kind of bump up. And then the nominating chair sits on the board of directors, and the nominating assistant chair sits on executive management. This was a change from years past. In the past, the nominating chair sat on both, but we feel like this helps us accomplish more as a committee to have 2 different people sitting in the spots. So this year's nominating committee, if you want to go forward with the slide, I wanted to read the names. The 4 returning members are myself, Laura, who's the assistant chair, Rhonda McMillan, and Caitlin Boyd. And then the new members are Karen Bro, Kiana Patant, Diamond Sherrod, and Allison Reeves. They're the new members this year. So they will have another year next year, and the chair and assistant chair will be chosen by the board of directors from those 4 people. And then Carol Abity is our sustaining advisor this year. We really lucked up in getting Carol. She was nominating chair 3 years ago, and she really started the process of making the nominating process transparent to league members, because for a long time it was kind of like the Wizard of Oz with who's behind the curtain, who's calling the shots, how do you get what position. And Carol really started the push to get us where we are today, which we hope is a very transparent and easy to navigate process. So next slide. So we place about 130 positions throughout the year for the next league year. So we will start placing positions in September, and we will place all the way through May. And that we place every month. That totals about 130 positions. We look for exceptional leaders, motivated members, and innovative thinkers. When we're placing these positions, we not only look at the needs of the league right now, but we also try to have an eye on the long-term success of various committees and even members when we're filling these placements. So typically, the placement timeline is very clear. It is on your member homepage. You can click, you'll see, I have a screenshot on this slide of my member homepage. If you go to the in-league tab at the top, you will see a drop down where you can select pre-placed job descriptions. And if you click on that, it pulls up this little screenshot that you're looking at. And the placements are divided by the months that we place them. So you can see coming up in September, we have our holiday steering committee. If you are interested in these positions, if you are an active member currently, you can fill out your interest indicator and let us know that you're interested in these positions. And so we have all of the placements through the rest of the year already up there, so you can kind of start thinking about specific roles that you may be interested in the league. And then there's times within the year that a member may not be able to fulfill a placement that they were placed in for the current year. So at random times, we may also be asked to fill current placements due to a vacancy. Oh, and one more thing about these placements, they are for the next league year. So 2022-2023 league year, they'll start, these placements would start June 1st of 2022. Next slide. So sometimes there's a little bit of confusion about what the nominating committee does versus what the placement committee does. So nominating committee does kind of two things. We pre-place leadership positions for the next league year. That is that placement timeline that was on the previous screen. And then we also develop the leadership slate for the year. And that the leadership slate is composed of the members of the executive management team and the board of directors. Laura is going to explain a lot more about the slate and the straw ballot process later on in the presentation. And I'm going to explain about the interest indicators and pre-placed leadership positions. So that's what nominating does. The placement committee, they organize the online placement that is available in April. And that is placements like community project positions, and some in-league committee members, assistant chair positions, that type of stuff. Nominating would be more like fundraiser chairs, steering committees, community project chairs, stuff like that. So next slide. So one thing that I think is very important that everyone should consider when they're thinking about what type of leadership they would like to take within the league, and that's why you're doing it. Some reasons why people doing it. I joined the league because I felt like my day job, I was not helping anyone. I felt like I was just floating around and I had no connection to the community. I didn't feel like I was giving back. So that's why I joined. I feel like I stepped up to lead in the league for multiple reasons. And I kind of answered the call, so to speak. So if everyone could put in the chat, I'm interested to see why you lead, why you would be interested in leading. Is it to make a change? Is it to impact the strategic vision of the league? Is it to develop a particular skill set? I'd be interested to read through why some of you want to be leaders. Oh, I see. Build skills, get out of my comfort zone. That's a good one. The league will definitely make you do that. Get out of your comfort zone for sure. Make an impact in the community. I feel like all of those are very step out when I'm nervous, grow relationships. I think all of these are great reasons to lead. And the great thing about the league is that the league is able to take whatever you can give it and develop you into so much more. I'm very passionate about people stepping up and leading, even when sometimes you don't feel like you can. The league is a safe place to do that, in my opinion. There's plenty of people to help. So I encourage you all to think about that when you're filling out your interest indicators and straw ballots this year. So back to the presentation, kind of went over this before. The nominating committee does pre-placed positions and slated positions. And so these are just some examples of what those are. Both pre-placed and slated positions can be selected on your interest indicators. So that is an important thing to note, that you can put, if you're interested in a board or executive management position, on your interest indicator. Okay, so next slide. So how do we find leaders for pre-placed positions? I feel as though for a long time, like I said before, the nominating process was felt as though it was obscured and it wasn't clear. I want to make it known to everybody on this chat and in the league that there is no hidden path to league leadership. And beyond that, there's no one path to league leadership. You heard Laura and I, we have completely different paths to the same spot at the end of the day. And so what I want to make clear is that we want to know if you are interested in a position. And there are a couple of ways that we can get your name for these pre-placed positions. The first and the most important one is that you fill out your interest indicator. That is the best way for us to know that you are interested in the position. It is a surefire way that nothing will get overlooked, that we can know if you're interested. We also can get your name from other league members that may pass it along to us as a good fit for a certain position. Or people have reached out to the nominating committee directly and said, hey, I filled out my interest indicator, but I also want to make sure that you know I'm interested in being the community assistant fund chair. My email address is, I think it is, actually don't have it. It's nominating at JLBR.org, I believe. I'll make sure that gets in the chat at the end. So, but again, the best way is to fill out your interest indicator because that is something that we check every month before we start to place positions. Next slide. Thank you, Cassie. Okay, so now we're going to get into interest indicators. I know that I've already said that at least 10 times on this training. They are the most direct path to letting us know that you want a certain position. So next slide. If you will do this in a little bit, but you can access your member, your interest indicator on your member homepage. There's actually a direct link on everybody's initial sign-in page. It can be updated throughout the league year. It allows you to put your top 4 choices for next year. Both the pre-placed and slated positions are on there, and we gather the information that we get from the interest indicators, and then we reach out to potential candidates based off of the data that we gather from those indicators and from your past league service and stuff like that. So one thing that I think sometimes is a little unclear is that the interest indicator is an ever evolving document. You may not get your first choice of placement initially. And we ask that in that case, you update your interest indicator each month to reflect your current interests and availabilities. For instance, you may indicate that you're interested in Holiday's steering committee position, and we place those in September. And if you do not get placed, then we would want you to go in and update your interest indicator after we let you know that you didn't get that first position, that first choice position. Also, you may have an experience where you think you want to do something in the league. Maybe, let's say, I'm going to use Holidays as an example. You think you want to be a part of Holidays, and then you go and work your shift at Holidays and decide, hey, maybe I don't want to do that. You can go back in and change your interest indicator to reflect your current interests, and it updates it automatically. So it wouldn't show that you had previously had Holidays. It would change to reflect your current interests and availabilities. Next slide. So the process is probably where most of you would like the information. We have set meeting dates. They're already on the Junior League calendar when we meet to place the positions. Our discussions revolving around candidates are confidential. That means everything that we discuss stays within the nominating committee. We usually ask that other junior league committees not to hold meetings when we're in person at the league office, because that is how much we value the confidentiality portion of what we do. Other than the discussions around specific candidates, everything else is pretty much well known. It is, you fill out your interest indicator, we gather that data on the back end, and we work through candidates with an eye on, you know, what the league needs right now and what might be best for the league in the future. And we also view it as a puzzle. If we are placing the diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging committee, we want to make sure that we think all of the members that we are placing fit together. And so we take a lot into consideration when we are making our placements. So once we select a candidate, and when we're gathering this information, part of that process is that we reach out to potential candidates and speak with them and make sure that they understand the job description should they be selected. So that is part of the process. And then once we select a candidate and vote on her, we then contact that selected candidate and let them know that they have been selected and confirm with them that they would like to accept the position. And then once that candidate accepts the position, we follow up with all of the members that we spoke with who were interested and let them know that it's not a good fit for this year. And we try to work with them to find the next best thing, or if they are interested in a certain position, what steps could they take for next year to better their chances of getting the position that they want in the future. So,
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Question in the chat box. It says, do you still complete an interest indicator if you're already in a 2-year placement?
Laura, do you know the answer to that question? My inclination is yes, because we will be checking with you to make sure that you're returning to that position.
That's what I was going to say. And, you know, you never know what's going to happen. So I would go ahead and complete it. And so we know what you're interested in if we need to talk to you about anything else.
I see Nikki says yes. Nikki Godfrey was a member of nominating. So she was assistant chair last year. She says yes as well. So we're yes, is the answer. Okay, so, and again, if you don't get the position that you're interested in, please understand that it is nothing against you personally. As I said, we are trying to fit together puzzle pieces and come up with the best possible puzzle to advance the league and work best for the next league year. Please go and update your interest indicator after reviewing the pre-placement timeline. Also, you can always reach out to a member of nominating to discuss how to become better suited for the position that you want in the future. So next slide, please. So this is a quick little graphic. I believe this graphic and one more will be emailed out to all the people that are taking place in this training. It's just a quick graphic about interest indicators for pre-placed positions. You'll see step 1, you complete your interest indicator, selecting which pre-placed positions you'd like to be considered for. Step 2 is that a member of nominating would contact qualified interested candidates to go over what is required of the job and confirm that they would like to be considered for a position. And then number 3, nominating meets and votes on the member best fitted for the position. And step 4 is the member is selected for the position and accepts. So that is just a really quick overview of the pre-placed position timeline. Next slide. So this is a little interactive section that I would like to do with y'all. I wanted to walk you through actually filling out your interest indicator, and I was going to go show y'all mine. So I'm going to attempt technology, not my strong suit, and share my screen with y'all briefly. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see. So you can see here is my member homepage. Right down here, you'll see it says, thank you for completing your interest indicator. I actually already did mine, but we're gonna go back in and do it. If you wanna follow along on your own or do yours after the training, I just wanted you to see it in real time. We added an easy link where you can view the pre-placement timeline schedule by clicking on this hyperlink right here. It'll take you directly to what we are placing each month. So then I'm going to click right here where it says review and edit, and you can see it takes you to this page. So you can go to the interest indicator right here, very big font. You will see that I selected, because I'm already a preferred active, I am going to go sustainer. So I selected, I am not interested in a pre-placed leadership position at this time. And I indicated my reason was that I will be a sustainer next year. Yay. There's a variety of reasons you can choose not to be in a pre-placed leadership position. For my first few years of league service, I always checked no. I wanted to get a little bit more experience in the league before I took a leadership position, or you may want to hit the ground running. Again, as I said, there's no specific path to leadership. We welcome everyone. So I'm going to change mine really fast and to where it says, I am interested in a pre-placed leadership position. So you can go to part 2 and you have the option of selecting which type of placement in league, which that is the interworkings of the league, that things like membership development, area advisors, new member advisors, training committee, that kind of thing. That is an in-league placement. You have the option of selecting community. That's the community project chairs, the community assistant fund chairman, and the community project chairman. Then you can also select fundraising. Those are the fundraiser chairs, the steering committees on River Road recipes and holidays, as well as different chair positions on Touch a Truck. So those are just that's an overview of some of the pre-placed positions on that. You can select what type of positions you want, day, night, weekend, or you're flexible. And then here where it says, please indicate your choices, that's kind of the meat and potatoes. You'll see it pops up all of the different options that you can select. I highly encourage you to fill out all 4 preferred position slots. And again, you can continuously update. You can rearrange them. You can take one off. And then part 3, you can indicate your skills. I don't know if everyone remembers, but when you first get your junior league profile on Digital Cheetah, you can indicate what skills you possess. So you can always, this gives you an opportunity to update that. We look at those. They're not a make it or break it. If you're interested in like a Marcom position, but you have no marketing experience, that is just one consideration that we look at in a huge sea of considerations. But it doesn't hurt to indicate which skills that you have. So you would fill this out and then you would submit it. So I'm going to go back and put mine as I'm not interested because I'm going to be a sustainer. And then I submit it and it should tell me thank you, I think. Oh yes, and so it'll show up back here. It has the check mark. If you're like me, maybe you like to get the check marks because it makes you feel accomplished. And you can revisit it at any time. So Casey, I'm going to stop sharing my screen to go back to the, oh, that's my face. Maybe you could, sorry, everyone. Okay, so that is really everything in a nutshell about pre-placed positions. So I'm going to turn the presentation over to Laura now, and she is going to walk through how we find our leaders for slated positions. And if you recall from earlier, those are members that are going to be on the board of directors and the executive management team. So Laura, take it away.
Okay. So the process for the slated positions that we're going to be talking about is a little different from what Katie just spoke to you about. These culminate in the active membership voting for the slate for these positions. So this is president-elect, executive management, the board of directors, and the nominating committee. Two important things to remember are that in order to be slated for these positions, you have to be board eligible and straw balloted. So we're going to go through both of those. The first thing I want to talk about are the board eligible criteria. This is directly out of our policy and procedures. Sometimes people call it the P&P. You have to have served as a member of a council, served as a chair of a community project, in-league committee, fundraiser, or event chair, and you have to have served at least 2 years in your junior league service. Please remember that we use the term board eligible, but we're talking about president-elect, executive management, board of directors, and the nominating committee. One thing to keep in mind is this is meant to be throughout your league service, so it's not a position makes you board eligible. For example, maybe you serve as the chair of Painted Playground in your 3rd year, and then you're a secretary on financial council your 4th year. So you're now board eligible because you've met all of the criteria. There were some amendments made to the criteria last year to make sure positions like the community project chairs would check the chair box for you for the second criteria. We worked really hard nominating with several other members to make sure everyone was clear about the criteria and that everything was totally objective. We went through and thought of every question that might come up and tried to solve them ahead of time. So we worked really hard. There's nothing subjective in the criteria. If you have any questions, please reach out to nominating. We'd be happy to talk you through the criteria. I'll be honest, I did not understand the criteria when I started this year, so don't be embarrassed. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to go through it with you. If you want to go to the next slide. You can find the board eligible list through that link that Katie just took you through for the interest indicator. The board eligible list, that says it's coming soon. This was from last week. So the board eligible list is now up for you to look at. It has the list of the members who are board eligible. It also has the criteria that we just kind of went through, and also some other things we look for when we're looking for this leadership team.
Laura, do you want me to share my screen again?
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be great. Thank you.
Sorry, keep going.
Okay. Please keep in mind that if you have any questions about the board eligible list, if you think your name should be on there and it's not, please reach out to us. We would be happy to check and either fix something if there's a mistake. One time my name wasn't on the list, so mistakes happen sometimes, or we'd be happy to talk to you about why you weren't board eligible this year and maybe make some suggestions for some placements if you want to be board eligible for next year. So please reach out to us. Let's just go to the next slide. Oh, there we go. So this is our current board eligible list for right now. I think that's good. Thank you, Cassie. The next thing, if you want to go to the next slide, the next thing we're going to talk about is the actual straw ballots. For all the new members in here, straw ballots are filled out by active members. So you won't be filling out a straw ballot this year. Next year, you'll be filling out a straw ballot. Really important that we can only consider people for the slate who were on the straw ballot. So it's a little different from what Katie talked about, where we can get your name from a bunch of different places. We can only consider people for the slate who've been straw balloted. So if you talk to Katie, if you put it on your interest indicator, that doesn't mean that we can consider you for a position. So we encourage members to nominate themselves if they're interested in a position. I know sometimes people are nervous that we'll think badly of them if they nominate themselves, but that's not the case. We would love for you to nominate yourself so we know you're definitely interested. You can also nominate other members for other positions. There's also a place on the straw ballot to write something. So that's your opportunity to tell us why you're interested in the position, why you think it would be a good fit. Whatever you would like us to know, that's your opportunity to talk to us, because we don't have the same conversations we do for the pre-placed positions that Katie talked about. You can go back throughout September, which is when these are active, and you can make changes to your straw ballot. You can add more people. When you see the actual straw ballots, there are hyperlinks in there. So you can click on a position and read about the position. You can click on a member and go to their member profile that's on Digital Cheetah, so you can see what their experience is and see why they might be a good fit. If you want to go to the next slide. So the first thing we do after the straw ballots are completed are our president-elect interviews. This is the only position that we do kind of formal interviews for. The pre-placed positions, they're more conversations with one person. These are an interview with the whole nominating committee with specific questions. Everyone gets the same questions. So that's going to be happening on October 3rd. This year. If you're interested in president-elect, that is the only day that we can do interviews, so you need to be available on October 3rd. President-elect, specifically, members have to be straw balloted for president-elect. So again, if you're interested in president-elect, please straw ballot yourself so we know that you're interested and we can consider you. Next slide, please. Right after we finish the interviews, which is a pretty long day, nominating meets and we discuss the candidates, and we take a lot of things into consideration. Their interview, the straw ballots, the information that's written on the straw ballots, what's in someone's interest indicator, their experience inside the league and outside the league, how we think they're going to lead the league if they were to be president in a couple years. After we decide who we would like to slate as president-elect, the nominating chair calls that person and lets her know that we would like to slate her, and then the nominating chair contacts each of the candidates we interviewed to let them know that we're not going to be slating them for president-elect. Next, after we do the president-elect slate, we slate the board of directors and the executive management. And that's going to be on October 6th this year. These are the positions on the board of directors and executive management that nominating slates. Just kind of in general, the executive management is made up of the vice presidents who manage all of our councils. So the financial vice president runs the financial council. Executive management is focused more on running the league, the day-to-day, this year, getting things done kind of stuff. The board of directors is a little more focused on policy and bigger picture and where things going. They work closely together, but they're focused on little different things. I'm not going to go through each of these positions, but if you have any questions about these positions, please reach out to us, or you're welcome to reach out to the people currently in these positions to talk to them about what it is they do. Go to the next slide, please. When we are meeting to talk about the board of directors and executive management, we can consider anyone who was slated for any board of directors position, any executive management position, and the president-elect position. We can consider those people for any of these board of directors and executive management positions. So if you're only slated for financial vice president, we might discuss and think you would be perfect for membership vice president and decide to slate you there. One of the things we really look at is building this team, this leadership team for the league. So we look at everybody's strengths and how do they work together. We don't want everyone to have the same strengths because we would miss things. We look for a mix of new members who haven't been on the board of directors or executive management in the past 3 years, mixed with members who have been on the board of directors or executive management because they have that experience. We also look for people with different backgrounds and different experiences and viewpoints. So diversity is important to us when we're slating the board of directors and executive management. After we choose the slates for the board of directors and executive management, Katie presents, the nominating chair presents the slate to the board of directors, and then the board of directors slates the 4 new nominating committee members and selects the nominating chair and assistant chair, which Katie talked to y'all about before. After that, the slate is presented to the general membership in February at our general membership meeting. And then there's an e-vote to vote on the slates. Again, only active members vote on the slate. So new members next year, you'll be voting on the slate. And the vote is for the entire slate. You don't vote for president-elect, yes or no. It's the slate as a whole, yes or no. Next. This is the other graphic that Katie was telling you about that I think is going to be emailed out about how the slated positions work. So if you're eligible for board, executive management, president-elect nominating, you need to be straw balloted by yourself or by someone else. And then nominating meets and discusses everything and puts together the best team that we can. And then at the general membership meeting in February, it's presented to the general membership, and then it's voted on. Next, we have for you a video that was created by Carol Abity, who Katie mentioned before. She's our sustaining advisor, and she was nominating chair a few years ago and really implemented a lot of the changes that Katie and I have been talking about. So if we can play the video, please. So that's our slated position process in a nutshell. Again, if y'all have any questions about anything involving that, please reach out to us like the video says, and let us know your questions. We definitely want everyone to understand how everything works and help everyone get to what they're interested in and what their goals are. So please reach out if you have any questions or want to talk to us about any of those positions. I'm going to turn it back over to Katie now.
Okay, so we have talked a lot about leadership opportunities, and I want to reiterate that sometimes you may be interested in a position that you are not offered for the league year. And I want to, the whole nominating committee would like you to not be discouraged. So there's usually several candidates that are interested, and you may not always get your first choice. That has for sure happened to me in my league service. We want you to keep trying, to keep to review the pre-place timeline and keep updating your interest indicator. If you need advice, you again are more than welcome to reach out to us. You can also speak with your area advisor. There's all sorts of people that you can reach out to for advice on how to get into a certain position within the league eventually, which is the next point. There's so many paths and opportunities to be a leader in the junior league. Twists and turns that you may not think would happen when you started, and at the end up being some of your favorite years, or the years where you develop those skill sets that you want to develop. That was my experience for the touch a truck positions. I never would have thought that I would have been in a fundraising type position, but I got so many skills that I use still to this day, and I can say that I learned them doing something that I didn't think that I was going to ever do in junior league. That's also the next point. Be willing to try something new. This is a training organization. In my opinion, it is usually a very soft place to land. People are usually always available to answer the calls for help. We have mechanisms in place. That's why we have a Marcom committee. If you're not great at marketing materials, that they can help you. If you are interested in a chair position and you don't get that, we also would like for you to think about maybe seeking an assistant chair position first. And remember, I said those are placed Those are the placement committee placements that are done online in April. I believe those are done by a point system that you can look up if you go to that section of Digital Cheetah. But you can always serve as an assistant chair to get experience to put your name in the hat to become the chair, or to even see if you like it. And the most important thing is that every position is important. New members are important all the way to preferred actives and sustainers. Everything is important, and we need all of these pieces to work together to make an impact in our community. One thing that I did want to clarify is the interest indicators are available currently for active members. New members, if you're on this training, they're not available to you at this time. Laura and I will speak to y'all at one of your new member meetings coming up, and they should be available for y'all around November to fill out. So that's just, I wanted to make that distinction in case you're a new member and you're not seeing the ability to fill that out on your member homepage. But next slide, I think this is it. We are, like I said, that's our email address. You can reach out to us. You can reach out to the members of the committee that were on those previous slides directly if you know them personally, if you have any questions or comments. That's it. I think right now, if you have any questions and you want to put them in the chat, we're happy to answer them if anybody has any.
Doesn't look like there's any questions so far.
Awesome. Well, if any pop up, just let me know. Laura, know. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank y'all. I was excited to see so many people interested. So thank you very much.
All right, thanks everyone. Before you go, please place your name in the chat if you haven't yet, and take a few minutes to complete our post-training survey. You can also register for upcoming trainings on your member homepage. And the upcoming trainings are Wednesday, September 8th, the 3 C's for managing unconscious bias. Thursday, September 23rd, a virtual event with the board of directors. And Wednesday, October 6th, pitching the Junior League of Baton Rouge. So thank you, everyone, and good night.